Yesterday I was in a bit of a hurry. I was exhausted, and to be perfectly honest, I was also a little bit disappointed in how long it had taken me to get things set up when, well, I was expecting to do a lot better. Brief information I gave about buying some shares did absolutely nothing to add to your knowledge, and I apologise for that. I suppose what I was trying to achieve was to talk a little bit about spread range trading, which is where you look at a share that has a fair amount of volatility over the day. I'm not a day trader normally. It's just that at this stage of the process, it is an easy way to increase the amount of money if done correctly. Again, this is not about you having to deal with shares. For some people, they may have never experienced even setting up a share trading platform. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on that today in day 2 and sort of explain how I see this as being beneficial when it can be so scary for so many. So, what's my take of day trading? I don't really see it as day trading. I see it as buying low, selling high. I see it as looking at different charts of different groups and seeing who's got some volatility in their share, the share of the company, I suppose would be the best way to put it. And that can have a lot of different factors that affect. For instance, the one I tend to go by is what I believe the public perceive as being beneficial and negative towards different types of shares. When we looked at the Royal Commission into the banks, a lot of the shares dropped significantly because people anticipated banks would have massive fines to pay and they probably would not have any profits for a while. And it's the same as when you look at things like the mining sector. Well, if we are hearing everywhere about there being a slowdown, then the mining sector will struggle to show a profit because people perceive that the shares are not worth as much as what they potentially could be. So I'm not necessarily a books and figures sort of trader. I am more of a trader going by what I see in the newspapers, in what I see on the morning television, because that affects people in their initial buys and sells. A lot of attention to those, to Facebook groups that cover a very broad category. So it may be, for instance, in the mining sector and dealing with a particular town where they are impacted by mines on a regular basis and seeing whether or not they are concerned, whether or not they believe that the mine is increasing, whether they believe that the town is getting a lot larger, etc., etc. Why are those things important? If I work on the basis that a mine is not getting a good return, then they're not going to increase the size of the mine. They're going to start to wind it back. So if they are increasing, that means that before the shareholders, the share traders, start to snap all these shares up because of the great profits, etc., that they're now showing in their books, you've already got the increase in the mine taking place, the increase in employment. So I'm looking at businesses that are growing, and I'm also looking at businesses that are shedding people and the reasons why they might be shedding those people. It gives you a bit of an idea of how I look at it. Let's take a look at the general rules, if you like. I use NAB. That seems to be a curse as much as a blessing. And I use their NAB trade. Now, with their NAB trade, they charge $14.95 for up to $5,000 worth of shares. So at $1,000, which is where I would recommend at present, if we are starting off with $2,000, we don't want to actually sink everything into one lot of shares. That works out to be about 3% over $1,000. Over the 5,000, it only works out to be 0.6%, but that's a fairly big risk at the early stages of the trading game that we're playing at present, or at least I'm playing at present. The same, well, let's concentrate on these first. I'll get back to it. So at 3%, we need to make 1.87% per day profit on the $2,000. So if we are only using, well, even if we just use 1,000, it'll still end up give us $1 million within the 365 days. So the minimum spread that we should be looking at is 3% plus the 1.87, so 4.87%. Or if we look at it over a share, and we'll use $1 as an example. So if a share varies by 4.68 cents in a day, then if we can buy at the $1 and we can sell at the $1.05, then we are going to be making that 1.87% each day, if we can actually stick with doing that and increasing the amount that we're actually buying each day. So it requires us to buy and to sell. So to buy is $14.95. To sell is $14.95. So that's where I get my 3% from, is $30 into $1,000. Okay. So let's end up look at that in real terms. I was looking at some shares, as I said yesterday, and they were trading at $2.68 in the morning. Well, down to $2.56 on some mornings, and quickly shooting up to the $2.80 by lunchtime, at which time they would go up and down a little bit before settling back down to roughly around about that $2.60 mark. So if I purchased in the $2.60 mark and I sold in the $2.80 mark, then I'm making roughly around about 7%, 6.5% to 7%, give or take. So I can put those two parameters into the share trade platform, and it will take care of the rest of it. I don't have to sit there and go, oh, hang on a sec, I better sell now, I better do this, I better not do, or I better do that, because then emotion gets involved. You need to be looking at this purely from, I don't care what the item is, I want to actually make dollars from it. If you've got a desire, like I do, of actually doing some good to the world, then make sure you go with shares that are in line with your feelings about the world. So there's enough shares out there that look after the environment, look after individuals, they don't try and rip others off. So if you've got the companies out there and the shares in those companies can be purchased and they've got the same volatility, then fantastic, go for it. People I sort of pay attention to are people like Thomas Busby, where he correlates trading to the time patterns of the day. So he recognizes that in the morning there's normally a flurry of activity. So if you are buying first thing in the morning, preferably just before the market's open, and you've chosen the right share, there's likely to be an uplift quite quickly as people jockey for position to actually get the most as many shares as they can at the best pricing, so that they can pass on to their clients. Normally by about mid-morning, they've done their shopping, and then they start to look forward to lunch. At lunchtime, there's very little that takes place. Normally in the afternoon, people are already starting to look at tomorrow's potential trends, what might be taking place, blah, blah, blah. And so there's not as much activity in the afternoon as there is in the morning, except for just before closing time. Normally, just for closing time, they try to offload all the shares that they aren't confident in holding value overnight, so they offload them. So buying at the very end of the day or just before the market's open allows you that opportunity to ride that lift. And if you think he's out by himself, look at Charles Kirkpatrick, Tom DeMark, Lars Kestner. They all share a similar sort of thing, and that is the sentiment of the trade, if you like. Do people trust what is taking place, or do they doubt that it's going to have value the following day? If they doubt it, it's not going to hold value. It will actually go down. Now, having said that, it doesn't necessarily always mean that you've got the right end of the stick. You might believe something has got great value, but it also comes down to the numbers as well as far as the long term. You've got to make sure when you're actually buying something based upon the sentiment of the community of the world, if you like, then it is actually their sentiment, not yours. One of the reasons why I'm quietly confident that we will hit the $1 million mark within 365 days is because coronavirus has created a really topsy-turvy world at present. People don't know which way to read the reports because they're reading the reports from years where the coronavirus was not an impact upon the actual the figures of the company. So I'm looking at companies that are on the periphery of doing good as far as the coronavirus is concerned, whether or not that is finding a drug that may help as far as treatments are concerned, or even something as basic as a hand sanitizer. So if I can find companies that have got a really good reputation, or at least people feel confident in dealing with them, and they can make a fairly good profit, well, I don't care if they're still in business in 10 years' time. That's not my goal. My goal is, are they going to actually turn a profit, or at least are they going to be perceived to turn a profit in the next 24 hours? Will they make more than 5% in one day in variation? And can I read that variation? So this is what I was sort of talking about yesterday with trading the shares. It's not my only strategy. This is what I was about to refer to earlier on in the piece. I don't care whether or not it's a share or a product. If you can buy an item that you're confident with and sell it the following day with a clear 1.87% or better return, and you're able to do that the entire way through. Hence why trying to locate an item that works very similar to buying and selling, with a lot of the same risk involved, but with the ability to be able to offload a lot easier. That's what a share is. It's just another commodity. It's just another product. It's just another So it's all about just simply going and buying something and being able to sell it fairly quickly. So that's the advantage of a share. Now, as we progress, I want to work more towards other items. So I'll be moving into real estate as well. But anyway, I've just realised I've been speaking for 18 minutes. So I'm going to shut up now. Okay, talk soon. See you tomorrow, guys.